Same thing happened in Israel, but they had an edge. They said, oh, this war that you have just gotten into, to Canada, the US, Europe, we've been fighting this war for years. We are the experts in the world at fighting Arab terrorism. We really know how to do this. And so the Israeli Homeland Security was really born. And if we look at the infrastructure of occupation, we see that it is increasingly privatized. You see it at the checkpoints, which increasingly look like airport terminals, and you see more and more private security guards at those terminals. We're seeing the privatization of the Israeli prison system slowly. And of course you have the wall, which is the largest infrastructure project in Israel's history. But the point is, it's not just the $3 billion that companies like Elbit and Magal got to build that wall. It's that those same companies have been marketing themselves around the world through state-sponsored trade shows of all kinds and said, we know how to build walls. And so the American government, which is waging an endless war against Mexicans at the moment, also has a $2 billion contract to build a virtual fence on the border with Mexico. The contract went to Boeing, but the largest subcontractor is Elbit because of their expertise in fighting this endless war. So I'm not saying that this is the largest part of the Israeli economy. It's not. It's one of the fastest growing sectors of the Israeli economy, which is important. But it is also the sector of the Israeli economy which is closest to political power, which has the most political power, because you have, in this country, as in every country, a revolving door between politicians, the military, and these contractors. So this is what we're up against, and this is the importance of BDS and this strategy, is that there are other economic interests in Israel. There are economic interests that do need to trade and sell products around the world. Those economic interests are far too silent right now. We have to make things hard for them. So they put a counter pressure on this government. So that's the basic idea. The other reason is because this is so effective, these technologies, I mean, you have to give them some credit. They have managed to create a bubble of security in this country. That's part of the sales pitch. We are surrounded by a sea of enemies, but come to Tel Aviv, look around. People are enjoying themselves, they're going to the beach, everything is fantastic. We're even sponsoring all kinds of film festivals and book festivals. It even has its own branding name, which is Israel Beyond the Conflict. It all fits together. So the other thing that BDS does is it challenges this bubble of normalcy, not with violence, but by making it harder to ignore the occupation, which this security infrastructure is so very good at making disappear through these technologies and policies. So this happens when people find out about a film that they really wanted to see at the Jerusalem Film Festival. When they find out, as they will tomorrow if it's reported in Haaretz, that the Yes Men, who are extremely funny, a couple of activists who use stunts of various kinds to raise awareness. They have a new film out called Yes Men Fix the World. It was a hit at the Berlin Film Festival. It was a hit at the Sundance Film Festival. It was just listed in Haaretz as one of 10 must-see films at the Jerusalem Film Festival. I've seen the film. It really is a fantastic film. But the makers of that film have just pulled it from the festival because they want to be part of BDS. I'm going to read you a little bit of the letter afterwards. Another voice from Gaza, Mahmoud Abu Shahala, who's one of Gaza's most prominent bankers. I don't usually quote bankers, but I'm going to make an exception in this case. He said, "For us, peace is mighty. For them, it's a luxury." Peace isn't going to come if it's just a luxury item. There has to be more urgency behind it, and that's what this is about. Now, this is another criticism that BDS has received. Why are you singling out Israel? This conflict has two sides. Why the one-sided boycott? I've gotten this a lot. Why aren't you boycotting Palestinians? I think Israel's kind of covered that, you know. I mean, there isn't much of an export economy, in case you haven't noticed. Indeed, it is an obscenity to compare what we're talking about. It is frustrating for Israelis to not be able to see a film they want to see or a concert they want to go to. But understand that in those moments of discomfort, part of what's happening is we are breaking the siege on Gaza because we are making that siege visible, because you got to have the debate and you have to defend it. That's the whole point, is that this strategy has meant that we are barely debating these policies. If you call for a tactic that sounds really radical, then you have to defend the tactic. And that means you're actually talking about whether or not Israel is an apartheid state. Is it? Prove it. Prove it. And then the conversation is happening around the world, but most importantly in this country. I got a letter a couple of days ago asking me, from a young Israeli person who said she'd read No Logo, she'd read the Shock Doctrine, and she said, it's clear from your books that a lot of governments do bad things. So why are you singling out Israel? Why aren't you boycotting this government and that government? The reason for that is, I have boycotted plenty of governments before, by the way. The reason why this is happening is because there has been a call. In 2005, an extraordinarily broad range of Palestinian groups, trade unions, political parties, civil society, made a call for boycott, divestment, and sanctions. I'm willing to bet that a lot of people in this room didn't hear about it until recently. And this is another effect of the ability to disappear Palestinians from the media, from the discussion, right? So the reason why this is happening and not against Zimbabwe is because, as far as I know, Zimbabweans haven't asked for this strategy to be used, okay? The reason why it is being applied now is a basic act of solidarity. I think there are a lot of leftists in the room. Probably a lot of you would pause before you cross a picket line. Picket line is there. People have said this is important to us. If you cross that picket line, you'd be a scab. You probably think twice about it. Now, that question, that self-examination, has not been faced by many artists, filmmakers, authors when they have come to Israel, only because of the ability to ignore and disappear Palestinian voices, only because of that. So I have been arguing that it's not a passive position not to support BDS. It's an active position. It's saying, I've read the call, it's a nonviolent call, and I'm going to ignore it. And the only reason why it doesn't seem that way is because we aren't confronted with these voices.